Voila. So here I am. This is me. Okay, guys, this is your LabAroma dashboard. Guys, I'm going to skip over the basics. Tell me if that terrifies you and you want the basics, but I think you guys have got it at this point. If I'm going to skip over the basics, but if you want the basics, go and grab the Meet the New LabAroma webinar. It is solely focused on showing you around the new software. So let's kick it off. We are going to talk about cannabis and hemp in tonight's webinar. I'm going to walk you through where to find that kind of information within LabAroma, but I'm also going to give you some heads up, some warnings, and I'm going to help you read the data, guys, because I think that's the biggest thing is I get questions like, how important are the terpenes? Are they really that important? Are you just saying they're important because you're an aromatherapist? I get that a lot. What's cannabinoids? Will THC get me high? Will CBD get me high? All of those things. So I'll talk to as much of that as you want me to. And then I'm going to actually show you how to blend with LabAroma and a cannabis and hemp recipe. But the other thing I'm going to show you what to do, guys, is add your own hemp or cannabis oil. The reason I'm going to do that is because most of you guys, especially you guys that are lab cannabisters, you're making your own medicine or your own cannabis oil, hemp oil, or you're buying it from like a local farmer. The likelihood that I'm going to have that in LabAroma is slim. So you're going to want to put your own data in there. So when you blend, you're blending with your own accurate data. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. That feature has been one of our most popular features forever for like, I'm scared many years LabAroma exists. Is it 8 years now? Yeah, 8 years. It's never been one of my favorite features until this new version. Now I love it. It's so user-friendly, and now I understand why people liked it in the past, but now it's just easier. Okay, I'm going to jump in. As always, ask me questions along the way if you want. Sarah's there, so any admin questions or anything that Sarah can help you with, she absolutely will. If it's technical, she'll flag it to me and I can catch it and I'll stop in between and check your questions. But there's loads of time for Q&A at the end also, okay? We don't post the Q&A, guys, so just FYI, if you miss the Q&A, it'll not be live, okay? It'll not be posted. Okay, let's go. So simple start is, where is my cannabis? So if you go to ingredients and go to LabAroma ingredients, I had, me and my other right hand, Jonathan, had the very difficult task of having to decide what strains to put into LabAroma. So when we were putting cannabis and hemp strains into LabAroma, we could have put in hundreds. There's literally hundreds and thousands of different strains. There's new breeders and growers are so innovative in this space. So we had to make a decision. I could sit and put in every single strain, but I don't know how useful that is to you guys. So what I decided to do was, within Lab Cannabis, our cannabis course, if you've never heard of it, our cannabis course, Lab Cannabis, which is all about empowering you with cannabis confidence so that you can make your own medicine or just understand the plant if you want to use it for your business or for your own wellness, then we do the course. Lab Cannabis, it launches now next Thursday. So this is my last LabAroma webinar because next Thursday I'm on Lab Cannabis webinars. So Sarah, I'll give you a link to that webinar if any of you guys want to join it. It's very cannabis, I don't want to say cannabis heavy, cannabis insightful, will I call it that? So what we decided to do, and this is our starting place, and I'm going to let you guys, our users, direct how much more cannabis and hemp data you want in LabAroma. So what I've done, excuse me, oh, they normally come in 3. Nope, I'm good on 1. Okay, so we decided to only put in the strains that we, thank you guys, thanks Chris. We decided to put in the strains that are in Lab Cannabis. So in Lab Cannabis, there's 22 cannabis strains in module 2, the botany module. And in the course, we highlight those strains, what they do, why people use them, what their aroma and flavor is, and what their phytochemical profile is. So what terpenes they typically contain, what cannabinoids they contain, and are they chemovore type 1, 2, or 3? Okay, 1 being THC dominant, 2 being like a nice 1-to-1 ratio typically of CBD and THC. And type 3 within the chemovore classification system is CBD rich. Okay, we decided to start with those. Now there's 2 reasons we've done that. One is that it's immensely useful for the lab cannabis guys who are in LabAroma because you have your strains that you can work with, but you can always add your own. So I'll show you how to do that. So don't worry. Now, where you find them, they are technically an extract. So as I said before, essential oils are distilled, okay? Extracts are extracted. Cannabis and hemp goes through a process of extraction, not distillation. Now, you can cannabis or hemp, both. Essential oil, and that's a distilled oil, which is beautiful, has a beautiful array of terpenes, but does not have any cannabinoids. And I think we put a cannabis essential oil in here. I think we did. If we didn't, it's in our February import. We did. So the cannabis, I'll just show you it just so you know. The cannabis essential oil is here, and I put it in to show you guys. The array of terpenes in here are beautiful. And we took this and we got this data from a beautiful guy called Soren. And Soren, I interviewed him on the podcast some time ago, just in case you're interested. I'll show you where that is. Soren's podcast episode was brilliant. He's a cannabis essential oil advocate, which is wonderful. Immensely passionate about it. There he is, Soren Dar. Soren's episode, sorry, I don't want my face in there. Soren's episode is beautiful, and he's passionate about the essential oil. It contains no cannabinoids. So they're fat loving, if you want to look at it like that. Cannabinoids are fat loving, therefore they do not extract in distillation, okay? But the essential oil is gorgeous. And if you like that aroma and you want those terpenes, it's brilliant. What I have started experimenting with, and I haven't done any recipes on this yet because I'm just experimenting, is working with the cannabis essential oil and the cannabis extract to increase my terpene profile, because I want, look at the linalols at 1.1 in there. My myrcene is at 56%. So for a sleep or an anti-inflammatory recipe, that is gold. So that's there. Oh, it's logged me out. Sorry, guys. Let me log back in again. My own technology loves me. 1 second, guys. Sorry. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Sarah, do you know what's wrong? I have 2 screens open. Sarah, you might need to change my password. Let's see. So if you've 2 LabAroma logins open, LabAroma thinks it's a bit suspicious looking. So for security, it logs you out. There you go. Okay, so that's where you'll find the essential oil for hemp and cannabis, or the cannabis essential oil, if you're interested in. I think it's a fascinating ingredient. However, in extracts, you've got your extracts. So they're scattered throughout all extracts. So there'll be, plant CO2s in there. There'll be plant extracts, which typically say extract at the end of them, or CO2, okay? Your cannabis strains, however, will always have cannabis sativa as a Latin, because as we know from Lab Cannabist, the botanical name for the cannabis plant, whether it's hemp, cannabis, whether it's high in indica, whether it's high in CBD or THC, it's cannabis sativa. That is the botanical name of the plant. So when you see cannabis sativa, you probably recognize the names anyway. And if the names look a bit quirky, then it's cannabis. But cannabis sativa helps you identify that is one of the strains. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of these and just show you them. So I'm going to take you through probably one of the most famous ones. We have 2 standard ones as well, guys. One's Italian, one's US. I put those in just to give you an idea of the different chemical profiles from different parts of the world. So you look at cannabis sativa, you just click on this, it opens up. Here you go. Here's all the information you want on. Now, the therapeutic property information, we keep it quite limited simply because we don't have the clinical data to support a lot of the anecdotal claims out there are amazing, but I like a bit more science before I can state things. So, but it's in there. I give you the chemovore classification type, which is great. So this is a type 3, which means high in CBD. I give you a wee bit of information about the strain and a wee bit of data about it. And here you have the chemical profile. So you can see your monoterpenes are at 60%, which is brilliant. Your cannabinoids are at 18%. And if you look at the breakdown, 17% of that is CBD. Okay, and as always, if you hover over these main components, we give you like a little bio, just a little couple of bullet point bios as to how that component behaves. So there's a bit of THC in Charlotte's Web. It's a type 3 because it's high in CBD. 17% CBD, 1% THC is very far away from a 1-to-1 ratio. Therefore, it's a type 3, okay? But look at your beautiful terpenes. You've myrcene, A-pinene, B-pinene, limonene, A-bisabolol, carpholine at 11%, which is beautiful. And you've humulene, which is one of the most beautiful terpenes, and it's an unsung hero. It's in there at 3.2. So there is your data. Now, let's say hypothetically, and we give you some software analytics on it as well. Let's say hypothetically, you've used Charlotte's Web and you have loads of thoughts on it. You want to put in loads of notes, you want to add therapeutic properties, like you know so much about it. You literally duplicate it, okay? I would highly recommend you do this. You duplicate it, it'll ask you sure? You say yes. It'll automatically go into my ingredient library, which is in ingredients, and then my ingredients. And it'll be in here. I don't have that many in here, so I'll find it quite quickly. Oh, sorry, extracts. I have one. So it's duplicated for me, which means now I can go in and I can edit it. And there you go, guys. You literally can write to your heart is content, anything you want. If you have a strain of Charlotte's Web that is slightly different from our data, you can update that, okay? If you say it's more calming, Colleen, than balancing, that's fine. If that is your experience, you change it, you make it your oil. You can add ingredient notes. Maybe you want to add a document to it. Maybe you want to add the actual data from your particular strain. Maybe you want to add the contact details of your supplier, which would be the Stanley Brothers. You can add all that there, okay? And then you just save changes, and then it becomes yours. Where you find yours to blend with it is very simple. You go to create a blend, my ingredients, and my ingredients, and my Charlotte's Web is there, okay? Now, if I go to extracts, which is the LabAroma library, so everything here is a LabAroma library other than my ingredients. So if you go to extracts and you scroll, you're gonna find Charlotte's Web, but it's LabAromas, okay? So if you make it your own, it's gonna be in my ingredients, okay? Make sense? Would you like to see another one? Let's look at another one maybe. Let me check that have I got any questions on these? Oh, Laura wants to know why is humulene so beautiful? Yeah, I'll talk about it now. So terpenes are wonderful phytochemicals, okay? They're so, my main thing about terpenes is they're incredibly versatile. So on average, but like we would always say in aromatherapy, generally phenols are antiviral and antibacterial. It's a generalization, but it's pretty true. Terpenes, again, it's a generalization, but it's pretty true for them all. There's not many that deviate from this. They are incredibly versatile, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and all over supporters. So they tend to balance out a blend aromatically, but also add this level of versatility to a blend that just no other group of phytochemicals do. You know, your phenols are Rambos, they're fighters, they're going to fight infection, they're going to, you know, deal with bacteria. They're, you know, if you think of a cartoon character, like they've got shields on and they're going to war. The terpenes aren't like that. Like esters are aromatically beautiful. They're like, to me, that's like an esters is like a lavender field blowing in the wind. It smells divine, will enhance your blend aromatically and is stunning. I'm not going to rely on them to fix anything, not necessarily. Again, a generalization, but that typically is how I see them. Terpenes are just special. And I felt like this long before I got into cannabis, guys. Terpenes are just immensely versatile. They will help with things that we all deal with every day, like sleep issues, anxiety, inflammation, like day-to-day things that if we had hold of, if we were managing, the quality of our life would be better, okay? Whereas a lot of the other groups will fight acute problems, okay? Terpenes will support chronic things. They will support us long-term, and that's one of the reasons I love terpenes. Humulene, I could talk about them all, but just because Laura's asked for humulene. Humulene is one of my sleep ones. I particularly like it whenever it's with myrcene. It's beautiful with it for sleep. I also like humulene in my muscular blends. So bath soaks, balms and rubs for muscular aches and pains. Humulene is a very powerful anti-inflammatory and can be antispasmodic. There's less evidence about its antispasmodic ability, but there's very strong evidence about its anti-inflammatory ability. So that's why I love Humulene. Firstly, sleep, and then my muscular problems. Okay. Does that answer your question, Laura? But I love Humulene. It's beautiful. You never get, so Humulene and Sebenine are two that are similar in this way, in that you never ever find them in very large quantities. And let's just, while we're at it, let's just have a look at that actually. Humulene is not one you find in high quantities. So I'm just going to do a component search and see how high is it typically in essential oil. So let's start realistically and see, is it at 5% in any essential oil? So let's just see. Oh, we have a couple. Okay, that's good. Yeah, Copea, Balsam Copea, it's in there at 8.1%. Pineapple Express, one of our cannabis strains, 7.6. Durban Poison, the cannabis strain, 6%. And Helichrysum, 5.3. So it's not one you're going to find in massive quantities. And that's okay. It's all about getting all these little nuggets of goodness together and helping them work together to support each other. So there you go. I knew it was in Balsam Copea and I knew it was in Helichrysum in high levels, but there's in your two strains as well. So that's a great way if you're trying to explore a new phytochemical, any kind of phytochemical, have a look in there. Let's say, for argument's sake, you were going to look and see, let's say you're going to blend with CBD, and let's say you're going to blend with CBD and you wanted to have a look and see what percentage you're talking about with CBD. So let's just do that out of curiosity. Let's just go and see how many of our, let's just go to cannabidiol. Let's just see how high a quantity it's in any of the strains. Let's be sensible and say 30%. One. It's our cannabis extract, which I think is our Italian extract, if I'm correct. So let's see the strains. Let's see down to 20% and see which strain we're going to work with. Still, oh, there we go. ACDC's in there as well. Okay. I'm going to take it down to 15 because I know there's quite a lot of them sitting around that 15, 17 mark. So this is what, you know, if you're looking to work with a product that's 100% CBD, well, you're not going to get that. You're going to get 97% CBD. You're working with an isolate. You're not working with a strain, an oil. You're not even working with a distillate. You're working with an isolate. So around 15% is pretty standard and normal, just to manage expectations if you're new to this world. My lab cannabists will know that, but the 15% is pretty good. So 15%, you've got your cannabis, your Italian cannabis, ACDC, Cannatonic, which is lovely, Charlotte's Web, and Charlotte's Web. Two versions of Charlotte's Web there. One of them is my version that I duplicated for the purposes of showing you. So that is a great way to start to understand what percentage is realistic to seek whenever you're looking for a particular component. Okay, so the component search is super helpful. You can see how quickly I just jump over to it to help inform me. You know, there's over 700 ingredients in LabAroma. I don't remember the chemistry of every single one of them. I'm good, I'm just not that good. Okay, so let's see if I got any other questions on that. Okay, Arlene's asked a great question. What percentage of CBD is recommended for making a product of inflammation and pain? We're going to get to that. So concentration is something I'm going to talk about. Yes, Chris says juniper berry, clove bud, CO2 have a nice humulene content as well. That's right, yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I wanted to show you one other one, guys, while we're at it. I want to show you blackjack. Okay, I love these names. It's one of the easiest way to find out if it's a cannabis strain. If the name's quirky, then chances are. So, blackjack is a very interesting cannabis strain. It's one of the ones I like to use for fatigue. Now, because of its chemistry, I can't get it in the UK and Ireland, okay, which is, it's just life. Hopefully that'll change. It's brilliant for fatigue. It's very good for muscle pain as well, and people use it for PTSD. I find that, how do I explain this? If the fatigue, you don't necessarily have to have PTSD. You don't necessarily have to have fatigue as a result of PTSD to find this particular strain very effective. I find fatigue from burnout or fatigue from close to burnout can be very traumatic on people. And blackjack, in my experience, has been very, very, very helpful in that scenario, but very gentle. Okay, so let's look at the chemistry of the event. It's THC, it's 24% THC, but we know the PTSD and THC go hand in hand, okay? And if you don't know that, we've loads of research on that. And by the way, guys, for you guys that are Lab Cannabis alumni, so if you're Lab Cannabis 1 or 2, hello. We have already, I know you guys get your alumni call whenever we go live, which is brilliant. And we also have this amazing secret thing happening. Sarah's going to kill me for mentioning this. Secret thing happening halfway through this year that I'll tell you about on our alumni call, which is in a couple of weeks. But anyway, back to PTSD. Sorry, the reason I'm telling you that is because if you are one of our alumni, go to your alumni group, and we've already updated 2020 research in there. So there's 8 pieces of new research that came out in 2020. Some that's really interesting. And there was a really beautiful piece I didn't put in because it was anecdotal, and you know I like my science, about the menopause and CBD. Really interesting Australian anecdotal. It was like a peer review, but it wasn't scientific. So it's just interesting. No, I'd like it to be scientific. So blackjack, PTSD, or just chronic fatigue, like exhaustion, but the THC level's 24. So the reason I'm highlighting this one is because sometimes I think THC it's got a really bad reputation, and people just think it's scary. And I get that being impaired is not fun for a lot of people. And if you're a Lab Cannabis, you know my story. I do not like being impaired at all. And it's happened a couple of times through work accidentally. Suppliers sent me material that has a report of no THC, and then it does. So that happens. But when THC is used safely, THC is incredibly valuable for so many things. And blackjack is one of the strains that is less scary in my experience and highly effective. Now, if we look at the chemical breakdown of it, we've got our THC at 24. And then THCA, which is the acidic form of THC, at 16. Only 1% CBD, so not a lot of CBD. And then our CBC, CBGA, and a lot of our acids, okay, and a lot of our Vs. But we don't have, when you are impaired by cannabis, CBD will reduce that impaired feeling, okay? We don't have that situation here because the CBD is not high enough to help counter the impaired effect of the THC. That's okay. This is what we call a type 1 because the THC is high. If you want to be taking cannabis and you want to be taking your full profile, your CBD, your THC, everything that comes with it, but you would rather not be impaired, or you would like to have less chance of being impaired, and everyone reacts differently, you need to go for a type 2, which is 50-50. So we'll probably have something like, 8% THC and 9 or 10% CBD. That's doable, okay? Now, the terpene profile is low here, but it's still beautiful. We've got A-pinene. always love saying linalool, even though it's in a tiny percentage. And we've got carfilene and humulene again, which is lovely. So blackjack's beautiful. If you're in a state that's legal and you're comfortable with THC, I recommend you try blackjack. It's brilliant. Okay. Is that interesting, guys, to look at those strains with a wee bit more information? Let me know. I give you a wee bit of profile information about it as well. Let me know if that's interesting, guys. Okay, good. Okay, Ray, that's good. Okay, brilliant. Shall we blend? Okay, so we're going to go here, and I'm going to make, I was working on this last week for you guys because I wanted to pull in, I'm going to do this in a way that might feel basic for some of you guys, but I want to pull in essential oils with my cannabis so that you start to understand my choice of essential oils based on their terpene profile, okay? You can do it based on your experience, and your textbook experience alone is going to help you here. So we're going to make something that's going to be for sleep. I'm lying, actually, it's not for sleep. It's more like, I'm sure you've heard me say this before, I always feel really jealous when I put my nieces and nephews to bed because they have a bedtime routine. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, especially you guys that are moms or grannies. Like, kids have a beautiful bedtime routine. Sometimes they get a bath every night, but they at least get wind down time, no screen time, a bedtime story, hugs in bed, maybe they get prayers, and it's very calm and mellow, and then they just slide off to sleep on a good day. And that's beautiful. We don't give ourselves that. I watch moms do that, and they go downstairs and have a manic 2 hours before they run to bed. And then even us girls that aren't moms, we have this ridiculous evening full of screens, phone, iPad, computer, TV, everything, Alexa talking to us, everything technology. We get into bed and expect our brain to go to sleep. It's crazy. Like I was watching this REM sleep masterclass recently. it literally, what we do before we go to bed is the opposite of what our body needs, the complete opposite. And then we get annoyed when we can't sleep. And people will say to me, I've got insomnia. And I'm like, well, let's try a bedtime routine before you start medication, because you might just need to change how you treat your body and mind before you go to sleep. So this recipe is my anti-digital bedtime routine. I think us adults, I think it should be, it's so true, Jessica. We don't give ourselves the same love and respect we give our kids, which is terrible, because a healthy mom is a healthy home. So this is my wind down routine. And I am not Bible at this, but I try my best to go to the bedroom for 30 minutes, 40 minutes before I go to sleep, before I plan to sleep, and just read, meditate for 10 minutes. And I have this blend by my like reading table in my bedroom. And I use this all the time. I have one with cannabis and one without cannabis, depending where I am in the world. So I have this. Now, what I've started to do is put my own CBD. I make my own CBD oil, and I've started to put it into it regardless, because that's fine. But when I am in LA, when I'm living there, I have THC in it, because THC helps me sleep. Okay. Now I take it and go to bed, so I don't know that I'm impaired, because I sleep, which is great. So I'm going to give you this recipe. Normally I do these ad hoc with you, but this is one I planned. So I'm going to do this. What's in your CBD bedtime blend? Oh, Tanya, we're going to blend it right now. So I have done this one. This is mine. I'm giving you, so I wrote it down so I don't forget it. So it's a roller ball. Now, in terms of formatting, you can do this product however you want. You can diffuse this. Now, there is some evidence, there's quite good evidence that the cannabinoids work well from an olfactory point of view. Burning them, diffusing them before around in the room you're in is beneficial. I'm a fan of putting them on my skin. I like a roller ball for this kind of scenario, because I'll put that on my skin and I'll take deep breaths off my wrists. So I'm getting both, and I'm not putting it into my diffuser. Okay. That's just my advice. You can diffuse it if you want. You can also use this blend in a massage blend, which I highly recommend, especially if you have a partner or you don't sleep very well, or you don't wind down very well. If you're one of those manic minded people, this is beautiful for self-massage. The advantage to self-massage or giving someone else a massage is you get the benefit of the oils topically, olfactory, and you get the experience of massaging someone, which in itself is calming and therapeutic. Okay, so I'm going to start with cannabis, and I am going to use Charlotte's Web because, excuse me, my Charlotte's Web, my personal strain has 16% CBD and it has 1% THC. Okay, so my Charlotte's Web, the Charlotte's Web strain is very, very close to my own. So I'm going to go with it. Now, I could add my own in, and I will show you how to do that. Don't worry. So I'm going to go to extracts, and I'm going to start just searching for Charlotte. There she is, which is perfect. So Charlotte's Web, I'm going to keep this really simple tonight, guys. I'm going to use drops. So I'm going to use 2 drops of my Charlotte's Web, and there my data pops up already. Okay, so already it's going to be calming and balancing. It's a base note. There's my profile. Look, I have 58% monoterpenes. My cannabinoids are 17. The more oils I add, the lower my cannabinoid concentration is going to be, because I'm diluting it technically because I'm adding more oils. So let's watch. We're going to keep an eye on the pie chart, okay? Now, frankincense. I think just we all need a bit of frankincense in life. Essential oil. And I want my Sakara. Yep, perfect. And I'm going to do 2 drops across these. So it's a very balanced, simple blend. Let's watch the pie chart. Do you see my cannabinoids just shrunk? So they went down to 8, so nearly 9%. My monoterpenes went up to 77%, but that's okay. I want terpenes in there, okay? I know it's very predictable, guys, but lavender, you just can't go past it. And I normally love lavandin, but I do use lavender in this blend of mine. So I'm going to just do it authentically. So I've got 2 drops of my lavender. Let's see the pie chart. There we go. Cannabinoids shrunk again to 6. So don't worry, I'm going to give you as an alternative. If this is freaking you out and you're wondering why is she decreasing my cannabinoids, I'll give you an alternative. Don't worry. Okay. Then I use Palo Santo, because we all need some Palo Santo before bed. I also burn Palo Santo when if I'm very good and I do go get to that bedroom 30 minutes or 40 minutes before bed, I'll burn Palo Santo as well. So there we go. Cannabinoids is down now to 3.7. Sorry, 4.5. Okay. And the last oil I use is bergamot, which I know sounds a wee bit strange, but we were talking about this week. Me and Jessica, me and Lisa were talking about this on email this week we talked about it in our live on Monday night. So I do a live every Monday at 4 p.m. with the community group, which is free and you can all join, and we literally talk aromatherapy for an hour, and it's the favorite hour of my week. And we were talking about depression and emotional trauma, not depression, emotional trauma. And I was recommending using citrus oils for someone in the community. They come with the scenario and they wanted our opinion. And people were saying to me, well, why are you using citrus oils? Like, why are we not using, frankincense and sandalwood and cedarwood? And my experience is that whenever you're dealing with deep-seated trauma or grief, those woods are beautiful, but they make you sit in the trenches of the trauma. Whereas if you have some citrus in there, it elevates you out of that trauma. You need both. I'm a massive fan of sitting in the tears and sitting in the grief and live in those, because they're there for a reason. Okay. Hopefully we'll be stronger people after them, but we need to, help our bodies out of that and help our minds and our hearts out of that trauma and that grief. So using things like orange or grapefruit or yuzu will help lift that. The terpene I'm using in that is limonene. I'm looking at limonene for that. So that's why I was talking about those kind of oils. I use bergamot in this blend for a kind of similar reason. If I want to go to bed feeling lighter, your day can be heavy. And yes, I want to sit and I want to reflect on it and be grateful for it. But I also want to lift out of any heavy thoughts I had or heavy conversations I had. And I want to go to bed feeling a bit calmer. So I use bergamot. Now, I don't use orange or grapefruit because they're literally 97% limonene. Bergamot, however, is slightly different and not as sunshiny, if that makes sense. And it smells divine. So it adds a beautiful smell. I like my Italian, so I'm going to stick with it. 2 drops again. It adds just a beautiful shine. It's just gorgeous. It really, really enhances this blend. So it might seem a bit weird. Don't put it in if you don't want to. I like it. I'm going to just show you the limonene content of it. Your limonene content, 46%. So whereas if you're using orange or grapefruit, that's double it, literally double it and a wee bit more. So bergamot is kind of a nice happy medium for something a bit lighter. Okay, so that is my extract blend. Okay, that's my powerful blend. Now I just need to put in a base. My cannabinoids are at 3.65. So let me add a base, okay? Let me add a base and then we can take it from there. So I'm going to put in jojoba. It's kind of the one I always use for my roller balls. So I'm going to put in jojoba and I'm going to make a 10 ml product, guys. So I'm going to put in 9.8 mils. So this is quite low, but I'm going to play with this for a minute. I'm only going to make a 10 ml product. I want my essential oil 1. Okay. So there's jojoba. Okay. All in there. I can change this to drops to make sure my drops are all good. I need to take that down again. 0.5. Why do I always do this? Okay, so let's play with this for a minute. If we look at this, we can say, okay, look. Loves me on a Thursday night. So we can look at this and we can say, listen, this is great. I'm really happy with this blend. It's fine. I can hear you guys already thinking, well, I'm on a blending webinar for cannabis and she's barely using any. I don't need a lot. I don't want a lot at sleep. I don't want to be impaired. I don't want to, I take CBD all day and I don't want to overdo it. Now, let's say you sleep really badly and you're like, Colleen, that's not going to cut it for me. I need a lot more. That's fine, guys. Put your cannabis, put your essential oil concentration way up to 20. Let's just say you put up to 20, okay? That's going to give you 10 drops of each of these. You can take it a step further and say, this is all lovely and romantic and great. I just want the cannabis. That's equally fine. You literally drag these babies back in. So just let's get rid of them all. They'll go back. Sorry, guys, I'm on essential oils. I'm going to put that back. I was wondering why they weren't coming back for me. So we just put them back in. There we go. So if you're sitting in the wrong category in your database, it'll not go back in. Sorry, keep short of web and put lavender back. So let's say you don't want any essential oils. The essential oils enhance the aroma as well, and they give you the terpene profile. Now you're back with a whole different scenario. Your cannabinoids they're still at 3.45, but you're not content with anything else, no other essential oils. But you might want to put this up again. So let's say you say, okay, I just want half and half, Colleen. I'm going to go 50-50, 50% cannabis, 50% carrier. That's fine. You can do that. I'm going to put this back to mils because we're not going to do drops at that level. We're not going to count our drops. 5 mils of each. Okay. That's great. Your cannabinoids are still going to stay there. Your cannabinoids are going to go up to 8.64. If you want it higher than that, you need to take a tincture. Okay. If you're looking at this and you're saying it's still not going to cut it, I want more CBD, that's fine. A roller ball is not the option for you. You need to move to a tincture, and that's absolutely fine. Now, the great news about that is I'm going to save this. I've been very bold. I broke my own rule. I didn't name it. Penny, great question. Any reason why I use jojoba on my roller blends? No reason. You can use grape. I like something that has a low comedogenic value, so it gets into my pores. Although your skin's so thin on your wrist, it's a great place, or your neck, it's a great place to apply them. I always have loads of jojoba. I do a lot of development work for clients. So instead of using really expensive carrier oils, they want me to use their formula. While I'm in the early stages of development, I use cheaper oils while I'm like mixing with the isolates or the distillates or the full spectrums and the essential oils, so not to waste money or plants we don't need to. So some of my clients' recipes will have things like blueberry oil and avocado oil and rosehip oil. And if I was using all of those in development, it would end up in a very expensive development process when I don't need to. So I always have like gallons of rosehip oil, jojoba oil. The other ones that I find are quite easy is almond, unless you have a nut allergy, obviously. Grapeseed is great, and argan oil. They're kind of my go-to basis, or coconut. I just find coconut a bit oily. Excuse the pun. Okay, so let's name this. So this is, I'm going to call it what it is. This is my sleep. Well, it's not really. It's my bedtime. It's my bedtime blend. And this has been my bedtime blend for about 2 years, and I love it. But it's kind of like I'm emotionally connected to it now. Like I want to spend 5 minutes with it before I try to go to sleep. It's just about building habitual routines, guys, that are healthier for us. So I'm going to categorize it. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm going to tag it as cannabis, and I'm going to tag it as bedtime. Okay, so that's my baby. That's my blend. I took all of those other oils out of it. I've just left it as it is. My cannabinoid profile is great. Like I've got decent quantities of CBD. I'm happy with that. If you wanted THC, I suggest you swap out your Charlotte's Web for blackjack or add your own oil, which I'm going to show you how to do. Okay. Okay, great. Just checking that you guys have no questions for me. Okay, last thing, and then we can go to Q&A. Add your own blend. You go to ingredients. You go to my ingredients. And you go to add a new ingredient. And there you go. You have got a blank canvas. Now, as I showed you earlier, if you're adding one and there's one, if you're adding an ingredient and there's one in the LabAroma database that's remotely similar, it is so much more efficient for you to duplicate that and make it your own. Otherwise, you're starting from scratch on a blank canvas. That might be fine. That might excite you. Great. You just knock yourself out. Okay. Just a side note, guys, you don't have to fill out every box. Every box that's gray, you can. You don't have to. It's your information sheet. You can do as much or as little as you like. Just make sure you save it, okay? I recommend you name it something that's easy for you to remember. I tend to, when I add my ingredients, I call them so my Charlotte's Web, my cannabis extract, my lavender, and I tend to put a batch number into it. It's up to you. It's just easier to find it if it says my, but you can always find it in your database, like I showed you, under my ingredients. See? Okay, makes sense? Okay, guys, last thing before I go to Q&A. If in doubt, check out the tutorial videos. So for example, if you want to add your own ingredient and you were like, I have no idea what she told me to do and how to do it, you literally go here. And this is a slower version of me walking you through the video. So I literally show you how to do it. If you would like to add, there you go. Them videos are also all on YouTube and they're subtitled on YouTube. In this support portal, the text is all there anyway. So if you're a reader and not a viewer, then that might be helpful.